welcome for this roundtable about the generative AI revolution for drug discovery, state of the art. So I won't introduce you again, but we will speak about well, for several years, artificial intelligence has played an increasing role in the health sector, mainly in medical imaging, and then in the discovery of tumors, also in the discovery of new drugs. And there is more to come. Today, generative AI opens new opportunities, and so we'll discuss it with our panel today. My first question is for you, Hervé. Sanofi announced on May 21st a strategic collaboration with OpenAI and Formation Bio. The goal is to optimize patient recruitment for clinical trials. So can you maybe tell us more about it?
Yeah, sure. So first of all, I want to thank the organizer for the invitation to this panel. I'm really happy to be here. Second thing, what I will express here is my own vision and do not reflect necessarily the Sanofi vision. Okay. And to answer the question, so yeah, when you look at drug discovery, and Sanofi has the ambition to become the first biopharma powered by AI at scale. And to achieve that vision, basically you have two tactics. One of them is, okay, let's develop internally AI tools. Let's integrate what is available outside. And the second part basically is, okay, let's look at externally at AI startups, at AI company, whether they have a unique asset that could really allow to bring faster, better biotherapeutics to the patient. And once you have identified these companies, the idea is to partner with them and to integrate, evaluate what they are doing, and to integrate what they've done into the R&D process. So Formation Bio, OpenAI, it's an example. We have other companies like Okin in Silicon Medicine, Academia in Paris. So I mean, that's part of the vision and the strategy of Sanofi to leverage AI for R&D.
Okay, and today the subject is the generative AI revolution for drug discovery. So according to you, what are the new opportunities GenAI drive to drug discovery? And maybe tell us how do you use it at Sanofi?
Sure, so just to look at the background, when you look at the pharma R&D, the first thing is you go to the patient and you look, okay, there is a disease, and the disease should be linked to a biological target. So the first step is to identify the right target linked to the disease. Once you have identified this right target, you say, okay, I need to conceive a drug that will correct this dysfunction. And I mean, there are so many possibilities to make a drug, like 10 to the power of 40, 10 to the power of 60. It's a huge amount of possibilities, and only a few of them will correspond to the right drug. And then you move to clinical trial. And in clinical trial, you will need to identify the right indication, and then the right dose to have the right therapeutic windows, and then the right patient that can really benefit from this new drug. So across this process, there are a lot of unknowns. So you make a hypothesis, and most of the time you are wrong. And because you are wrong, the failure rate is super high in drug discovery pharma. 90% of the drug that reach clinical trial will fail. Most of the project that start in research will fail, just because most of the assumption that we are making in pharma, not only at Sanofi, in pharma in general, will fail just because we don't have the right information to make the right decision. So the idea is, okay, we have data, we can integrate and leverage this data to make the right decision at the right time. But there are so many data from different sources that a human brain cannot integrate all of them. And that's where basically AI and deep neural network can be useful. And one example related to generative AI is drug design. If you want to make a drug, there are so many possibilities. Most of the drugs will not be safe, will not be active. And there are a lot of data available to predict the properties of this drug, because you have to optimize all the properties at the same time, and every chemical modification will have an impact on these properties. GenAI can interrogate this knowledge from the data and propose new drugs that should fulfill the profile that you are expecting. And that's where basically we are exploiting LLM, large language model, not to make text or to make picture, but the idea is to make proteins, biotherapeutics, and to arrive more quickly to better drug faster for the patient.
Okay, well, thank you, very clear. Alex, Amazon is quite active in the health sector on a global perspective. Can you share with us some of the pharma and startup collaboration Amazon has developed past years?
I can, and it's great to be here with everybody today. And I believe we might be the only thing standing between this audience and drinks and networking with each other. So thank you, and we'll make it worth your while. The title of this panel is Generative AI Revolution for Drug Discovery. And a lot of the stuff I'm going to talk about, it doesn't just apply to generative AI, but it would apply to deep learning or other technology transformation as well. But 9 out of every 10 leading biopharma build on AWS for their machine learning and data analysis. And they do it because we provide tools to create a secure, compliant, and very performant infrastructure. But that's only half of the story. And so within early stage innovation, we do a lot of work to help early stage newcos be successful, find initial design partners, and explore different technical design patterns that can be successful for them. And on the early stage startup side, I actually want to tip of the hat to Makia, which is Iktos' SaaS platform, which does what Hervé was referring to. They do molecule synthesis, and I'm sure we'll hear more about it later. But what I think is really unique about what they're doing is it's not just about generating molecules, but it's about applying medicinal chemistry expertise so that these molecules, they can actually be synthesized. Because just because a generative model thinks that it's possible, it doesn't mean that it's practical, given reagents and the technologies that are on hand. So, we see ourselves as an ecosystem builder, trying to connect this early stage innovation to large scale, organizations that can really deploy it globally. And we'll try to keep doing more of that.
Okay, thank you. Well, you mentioned Iktos, and we are lucky to have Yann Gaston-Mathé with us today. Yann, can you explain us the work of the Iktos platform and maybe the opportunities AI and GenAI offer in drug discovery today?
Yes, of course. Thank you very much, and hello, everybody. As Hervé was mentioning before, what's very challenging about designing or discovering a novel drug candidate for a biological target is that the chemical space you have to explore is nearly infinite. When you say 10 to the power of 60, it's almost infinity, and it's much bigger than any database, any major database using all the available computing capacities on this planet could contain. Not speaking about the time needed to apply computation to predict their properties on a computer. So you cannot really screen the whole chemical space. You need to be very smart to identify molecules which have higher probabilities to be active on the target, to be selective, to have good ADME properties, which will make them suitable to become a potential drug candidate. And this is a very challenging task, and this is a task that Iktos sets for itself when we were founded back in 2016, when the word generative AI, to my knowledge, was not invented yet. And so we were doing generative AI like Mr. Jourdain was doing prose without knowing it. And the term, interestingly, is a very good term. Actually, has been popularized with the arrival of ChatGPT and other similar technologies, and now it's becoming commonplace. But of course, at Iktos, we are doing something which is much more specialized because the ChatGPT technologies working on natural language processing approaches are not very suitable to explore the chemical space and to design molecules. And one key reason for that is that molecules you can represent them through sequence of characters that encode the chemical formula. So that's fine. You can generate new chemical structures using technologies which use natural language processing, but that will not take into account, that will not factor in the fact that a molecule is a chemical, and to actually produce this chemical, you need to be able to synthesize it in the lab, and to do that, it needs to be synthesizable by ways of combining chemical building blocks, which you need to buy on the shelf through chemical providers, and by applying validated organic reactions. So what we have done at Iktos, essentially, after developing initially our first versions of the generative AI technologies, improving it and getting real life experience from our partnerships is really, let's say, pivot towards developing a generative AI technology which is at heart a chemistry-based technology that uses virtual synthesis approaches to design molecules that are optimal, that will optimally bind to a protein binding site, and also will have all the necessary other characteristics that are expected by a medicinal chemist, but most importantly, are easy to make in a lab and are easy to make through an automated synthesis platform that we have built, because the final objective is to be faster, more efficient, more cost effective. And we believe that through automation of the synthesis, we can really have a much higher impact than with traditional synthesis methods, which essentially use bench chemists to make those compounds.
Yes, and to have this impact, you have to develop also. And I have turned to Samantha, because we know in France and even in Europe, we have an entire French and European ecosystem around AI in health. How can we support its financing? How ELAIA partners contribute to this ecosystem, and how do you pick the companies you want to support?
Thank you for the question, and hi everyone. So ELAIA is a fund that was created more than 20 years ago, and we've been dealing in the field of health for the past 5 years. It's not something that you're improvising yourself. We're coming from the data. So back in 2002, 2003, when we were created, we had this data focus AI and now GenAI. So in every single company that we've been investing in, there is the word AI and technology, and even deep technology, because we're sourcing company at academics. But the field of health have been in ELAIA for the past 5 years, and now we have close to more than 20 companies divided between biotech, tech bio, and digital health companies. Tech bio that becoming biotech companies as well, because from time to time the different path that you're starting with. And I have to say that it's a pretty tricky environment. You have to get to know the stakeholders of this ecosystem. And if we just drill down a bit on the subject of today, on tech bio that has included the generative AI and this revolution around drug discovery, we've done a couple investment in that field. Very happy to be investor at Chemia, Zimvol, in other and connected environments. But I have to say that we have picked up those companies because the market driver and the market addressable market that we are targeting is huge. Okay, so we can say this, the market is huge. The market driver are quite usual and normal to say that you were talking about patent cliff, you were talking about the R&D cost and the clinical trial cost and the failure rate on clinical trials. So and this envy of the pharma industry to be innovative, what you're doing. So for me, the driver are pretty solid, and that's why we get in this environment. Being said that, somebody just before on the other panel was saying that there's not enough money in Europe. And I have to say that I tend to agree, but we cannot do everything, right? We cannot invest in every single company that is supposedly or proposing something on the AI revolution for drug discovery. First, because when you're doing one, you cannot do like tens of those. And second, because yes, we have a problem of capital in France and in Europe in general, and that the US are way above what we're able to raise as fund and thus to invest in companies, right? So we can claim that we have done company, and there is some company that are raising money. I see Bioptimus in the room. I see I don't see, but we can talk about Cure 51 and so on. Other company in the field of tech bio, let's say. But the reality on the ground is quite difficult. So yes, we'll be still and we'll be raising close to 1 billion in the next 12 to 15 months, and 20% of this will be dedicated to health, but it's still not enough. So very happy to see a lot of entrepreneurs, but we have a strong reality is that first, very long sales cycle. When you're talking to pharma, I'm sorry to say this, but I have to say that every single company that are targeting the pharma, we're talking about sales cycle of 1.5 years, 2 years, 3 years. This is the reality of the entrepreneur. So to resist of this and to be resilient on this, that means that you have to be supported by cash. You have to stay as long as you can, right? So the first is it's really, really difficult to target the pharma industry. That's why from time to time there's some tech bios that come in biotech companies because they're searching and they're finding, so they want to be biotech themselves. Second, we have a problem of amount of, and third, we have a problem of pricing model. How does it cost? Like, what's the data is costing? Like, how to price this towards pharma? This is from time to time, some question that we have from because this is a new market, right? So, sorry, long story short, entrepreneur, very happy to get to know you, and but we'll be very happy to still invest in companies in this field for sure.
Okay, very interesting. Does anyone want to react, maybe, to?
Well, this sounds very familiar, and I must say that hearing this from a very prominent investor, I think we actually I was participating yesterday to a tech bio a panel discussion, fantastic event organized by White Lab Genomics, and I must say that we all agree on the fact that we are facing specific challenges. Because essentially we need at the same time to invest in our technology, which takes time, which takes iterations to make it really fit for purpose and to deliver value. We need to convince pharma companies, which take time, and once they have made their decision, if the technology is not ready, they don't necessarily want to try a second time. So you don't have really the right to to fail with most of your partners. It makes it tricky. That's the question of the value that you can get from those partnerships. But at the same time, as you need to have proof, the best proof for pharma, for investors, is also to have assets which you have delivered thanks to your platform. And therefore you have to invest on both fronts. And that's, so we need capital, and we need investors and partners who are willing to take the risk, because obviously I think it is obvious that what those innovative AI startups are doing in generative AI and also physics-based methods, because it's not only generative AI, let's say in silico methods to essentially transform drug discovery is obviously the future. Everybody knows it. Everybody understands the fact that there are gems, really very, very strong companies with very, very strong teams and technology assets in France, not only in France, but especially in France. But yet, I think the level of financing needs to be improved. And it's a very well-known fact that France is very good at originating some very, very promising startup companies and doing the early stage financing, also thanks to the support of PPI France and some investors who are really interested in investing in early stage companies, but that the scale up of those companies may become an issue. And I think in the tech bio field, it is obviously a very big issue, as actually most investors in France are still, big scale investors are more biotech, have the culture of investing in assets, in biotech companies, and still need to make their cultural revolution also to take the risk in investing in more platform companies, which obviously brings a different type of risk and also probably some different skills.
Right. Yeah, maybe Alex, and after we'll have the last question because the time flies.
I'll be very, very brief.
Yeah.
If you're a founder and you're listening to this and you're thinking, I don't want to do a company because I'm not going to get funded, then you might not want to proceed because you probably won't. But this is a game of outliers, right? And so we have to be really careful when we're drawing these mean trends, because there really will be exceptional companies that do not behave at all like what we're talking about. So if you're hearing this and you're thinking, oh, it's gonna be really tough, well, it may not be. And if you're convicted and you really do have something special, it won't be, because the VC game is not one of the median. It's a game of the outliers. And then the second point, we have so much academic achievements in Europe and in the UK. And there's plenty of new co-creation. Early stage funding is up in Europe compared to a 2019 pre-pandemic baseline because of all the tourist capital that came in. The problem's growth capital. And so from a founder perspective, you'll be fine. You'll just go to the States. The heartbreaking thing for us that live here is we won't benefit from the innovation. So there's a real gap in growth capital, but it's a great time to be building.
Okay, well, last question, because time flies. So what is your vision of the contribution of artificial intelligence in the health sector globally, and maybe what is coming, according to you, for the months to come? What's inside? What trends do we have to watch?
If I can start, or someone was talking about Bioptimus before. Yeah, okay. And I mean, basically, today, you can understand what is going on at the molecular level. I mean, you have AlphaFold, you can look at the structure of the protein. It's easy to understand what's going on at the molecular level. At the cell level, Deep Life was there before. They're looking at what's going on at the cell level. After you have tissue level, after you have the patient level. But the translation from the different scale, we don't understand that. It's super difficult to understand that. And what Bioptimus and other companies are trying to do is just to make the foundation model, just to put the link between these different scale, and in order to have this deep understanding about, okay, I do understand the biology at the different scale because I have the right information for that. So that's basically a trend. The big question is, do we have the right data and enough data to have a predictive model for that? And maybe that's the big challenge, to generate the data that will allow us to make these foundation models and understand the biology.
Okay, well, does anyone want to conclude?
Go ahead.
This is a trial of drug discovery, but it should be a panel about drug discovery and development, because the innovation doesn't matter if it doesn't get into the clinic, right? And so clinical development, please, I want to see more investment in clinical development. This could be trials, it could be market access, but there's been such a disproportionate amount of investment on the diagnostics and therapeutic side, which is exciting. It should go there. It's all going to go through the same bottleneck. It's all going to go through the same bottleneck of clinical development, and it's way too expensive, and there's not enough going there. So I really am excited to see more companies in that space.
Samantha,
maybe to go back to this, we've seen plenty of companies, NetGen, CRO, CDMO, that are really interesting, even if the space is kind of noisy a little bit. But very interesting ones. I'm thinking about Inato or the kind of company Linda's Health also, or whatever. And I have to say that I was really pushy towards real-world evidence, real-world data, structuring data from hospital. We've tried. Doesn't mean that we failed, but it's harsh because, again, we don't know how to price the data, and even if those hospitals are on a gold mine as data, no one has really find out the solution to structure unstructured data from hospital. It's a total mess. It's really difficult to do, and you have to have global data to sell to the pharma because they need global data, which we understand. No one has cracked this.
Okay, well, thank you. It will be the last one. Thank you very much to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.